All right, folks, we are back. Brew Boys Podcast. We're at Unrefined Brewing in Tarpon Springs right now. I am here with Tom, the owner of Unrefined Brewing, and then Ryan, the assistant brewer at Unrefined Brewing. Now, we just did our tasting. We just finished every single beer that they have. Unbelievable, by the way. I don't think we've been to a brewery yet where every single beer was good. Like, every single beer is good here. And I want to kind of start with you, Tom, and just ask, how did Unrefined start? Where did you guys get the idea? How did it happen?
Well, be honest with you, we were drunk in New Orleans.
That's the best place to be drunk at.
It was Mardi Gras, and my brother lives down the road from here. He's our main brewer.
Sure.
And there's 5 of us that ended up purchasing it, and it was Mardi Gras 2019. Call came in about a property in Tarpon Springs, Florida,
Sure.
that had a license to brew beer. It was Saturday morning. We said, hey, let's put in an offer. An hour later, the offer was accepted. And
wow, an hour later is insane.
10 o'clock at night, we were at Avenue Pub, 10 sheets to the wind, wiring in like 20 grand each to buy the place. And then I looked at my brother and went, where the F is Tarpon Springs, Florida? Because I'm from Houston. So I moved from downtown Houston to downtown Tarpon Springs, Florida, because I was drunk in New Orleans and got home with a brewery.
That's impressive.
So, but my brother had been brewing for probably 10, 11 years on his back porch. He brewed a couple of beers on his stout pumpkin beer that you guys had tonight. The pumpkin
Unbelievable,
beer.
By the way.
And he got his start with a Mr. Beer kit.
Okay.
I bought him a Mr. Beer kit for Christmas,
Sure.
and I was told by a friend he's either going to think it's cool and that's it, or he's going to spend thousands of dollars on equipment and become a home brewer. And he spent $1,000 equipment.
That's fantastic.
And the Mr. Beer kit became Unrefined Brewing eventually.
That's fantastic. I love that. So, Unrefined Brewing, talk about the space that you guys have, because when we walked up tonight, it's in Tarpon Springs. It's north. It's way north of where we're at in St. Pete. We're walking past all these houses, and then we walk up to this house, and it's like Unrefined Brewing. When did this house get built? How did you guys build the space in the house? And what is the house now?
Well, it was built in 1912. It's a historic home in Tarpon Springs, so we're not allowed to do much to it.
Gotcha.
Because it's certified historic.
Sure.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, it survived a lot of storms and everything. We purchased it from one of Tampa Bay's original brewers, Bob Sylvester. He owned St. Somewhere Brewing.
Okay.
And he was known for his Belgian style and Saison style beers.
Gotcha.
And he had turned it into kind of a monastery.
Sure.
But back in 2018 and 17, people in Tarpon Springs weren't ready for that style of beer.
Yeah, right.
Being really the only brewery around, and a couple other breweries popped up. He sold because he just didn't want to be customer facing, I don't believe, anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He had a fantastic product. He was just not right for the area. So we were fortunate that we found he had done a lot of the legwork in making it a brewery.
Yeah.
We bought a 2-barrel system through the 2-barrel system in the back room, which is now an arcade.
Okay, cool.
And we were back there with paddles and stirring stuff, and I mean. Yeah. I will never forget the one time that one of the greatest times. We decided to brew a rice porter, and everything got screwed up on the transfer because the rice got stuck at the bottom.
Oh, yeah, nice. Okay.
So we had to run to Walmart and buy a big Tupperware tubs.
Yeah.
And then we had to take buckets and pour the beer into the tubs, and then take the tubs and pour them over into the fermenter. And one of the guys looked at my brother and said, I bet you professional brewers don't do this. And he goes, what are you talking about? We're professionals now.
That's it, man. That's it, right?
That was funny. But, then right after COVID, our beers won, 4 awards at the U.S. Open Beer Championship. We started getting hit up by a ton of people. Our business blew up.
Yeah.
And we had to jump up because a distributor was coming after us. So we had to jump up to a 10-barrel system, which this small old house would not fit. So we moved that stuff up the road about a mile into a 3,000 square foot warehouse.
Yeah.
and we turned the back into an arcade game room, stage for music.
Yeah, I checked it out. It's awesome.
Again, as you heard, we have a wine room speakeasy upstairs because we're in an old historic home that was built in 1912. It's very Prohibition style. A lot of people in the craft beer community have told us we have the best drinking patio of any craft brewery in Tampa area because you're a mile from the ocean. You're just watching boats and cars in the summer drive by, and you get a nice ocean breeze and this nice old Greek historic home. But
I love it.
But that's Tarpon. To be straightforward, Tarpon is very into making or having businesses repurpose old homes, old buildings.
Yeah.
Two Frogs Brewing down the street is in the old pharmacy. Backdrafts Pizza down the street's in the old bank. Sponge City Brewing's in the old gas station.
Wow.
Five Branches Brewing, who unfortunately just closed down, they were in the old bakery.
Yeah, we went there.
So doing those type of things in Tarpon has really allowed the historic nature of Tarpon to survive.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, no, and you see that as you drive down the street, even walk down the street. I mean, we just got dropped off like 2 buildings down, and you could just see the historic value that is in the city. And I mean, even walking into this place, you can see the historic value, and it really it kind of exemplifies the beer that you guys have here as well. And that's kind of where I want to go next is what was the inspiration to what you guys wanted to brew? And this is kind of a question for you and Ryan. What was the inspiration behind it? Like, how do you guys want to brew? How do you guys want to be portrayed to the community?
Well, I'll first speak to what my brother would say. Which
sure.
He is very much into craft beer. He actually gets frustrated when he hears of people taking shortcuts because he thinks some people are losing the focus on craft.
And what would the shortcuts that you're talking about be?
Those I don't know. That
sure, yeah, no, totally.
But that gets down to the definition of what we want to be, and we want to be craft.
Right.
We want to focus on superior ingredients, like
Absolutely.
What you were drinking tonight. Yeah. It's all natural ingredients. We're not using chemical extract, fruit flavors. Your soft glove electric sex that you had tonight with Gile. But we think when people come in, they drink our beer, they know it's natural fruit. When you drink Mexican candy, it's jalapeno.
It is.
You 100%. Know it's jalapenos.
Yeah.
If we've had companies come in and say use this chemical extract for jalapenos, everybody would know. The peanut butter beer, you would know.
Yeah.
So my brother's focus really is on natural, fresh, the best ingredients you can get to brew things.
Definitely.
And trying to maintain the whole ideology of craft.
Yep.
And he doesn't want to get away from that, regardless of, as we get into canning and see that profit margins on can are pennies on the dollar, there's easy ways to shortcut it to make more money, but that's not what we want. We want you to go to the store to Lucan's or go to a tap room in Orlando and buy a Mexican candy and have the same experience that you have here.
100%.
So that's our goal on that.
That makes sense.
But Ryan works with my brother all the time. He's in there, and his pedigree on brewing is he was at Cigar City, he was at Pyro Mead Works, so he's got a lot of pedigree as well. And when it comes to the brewing quality, I'd like to turn it over to him to have a little bit of conversation.
Absolutely, yeah, Ryan, man, please.
Yeah, so I joined them a couple years late. I think I've been here probably just past 3 years now. Okay. So you talk inspiration. I wasn't inspiration part of starting Unrefined, but that's all kind of the things that brought me here too. Kind of tell you the story about how I ended up here and then go into the beer. But it was actually a beer called S'moreos, which is one of the OG stouts that we come on. It's a s'mores and Oreos stout that my sister-in-law bought a bottle of from a release that they did 4 years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, shortly after they opened. And I tried it, and I was like, oh, I got to go to the tap room. Ended up here drinking with my brother on a Sunday, and Tommy was actually bartending back then on a football Sunday, wearing a Steelers jersey.
The Steelers jersey.
And so it was a few hours later of talking shit, banter, having a good time, drinking a lot of beers. We kind of joked about me being in the industry already and wanting to work somewhere else and do our thing. But the big thing was the small nature and the craft nature that he kind of already spoke about is what really drew me to it. Is the idea of every interaction matters, and being able to spend time with customers. It's talking about our beer. I think it's fairly unique that I'm a brewer who's also bartending a good amount of time, so getting that experience to be able to answer questions and
absolutely.
So I was able to come here and wear both hats, which I feel like isn't very common. So that was what really brought me here.
Yeah, most brewers don't want to be behind a bar at all.
Yeah, sure,
I learned that quickly when I got.
It's like
they want to hide.
It's like artists, brewers are sometimes recluse. They hide in the man cave.
And I kind of want to ask you about that a little bit. So, being a brewer and then being behind the bar, do you find yourself a lot of times wanting to educate the public? Like, I feel like that's such a big thing. And even like when you think about medicine, right?
Sure.
And you think about doctors and people who go into doctors and they're like, oh my gosh, I have this or this. And the doctors like don't really explain what it is. Do you feel like you're kind of a doctor in your own way of beer, where you're explaining like the intricate details of what you're doing and what the consumer is getting?
Yeah, I think it's super important to feel out the nature of the customer for
Absolutely.
sure. Some people are more interested than others in hearing those kind of explanations. I love nerding out about beer, and I by no means think I'm like this. I'm not a brew master. I never want to be a brew master, because I think once you kind of designate that for yourself, you're going to stop wanting to learn and continue to develop.
Absolutely.
And we're in an industry that, beer's been around for 2,000, 3,000 years, right?
Always evolving.
Alcohol, mead, whatever. Egypt, whoever decides that original alcohol.
Yeah, right.
It's continued to develop.
Definitely.
Thousands of years
always
later,
evolving.
and it's always going to evolve. So if you don't continue to learn and take in new knowledge, one of the ingredients in a beer that you guys tried today in Big Hands on Air, the one is marshmallow root, which I didn't know it was a thing ever. And we have a relationship with a chocolate shop down the street who's also like an herbal medicine person.
Okay.
And so we were talking about like a beer and what we were doing and kind of what we wanted to get out of it. And so we learned a new thing to put in our beer from a chocolatier. And so it's just super interesting, and being willing to continue to have conversations with not only customers, but other community individuals, other brewers. It's, one of the most community-focused groups of business out there is the craft beer community. So I think always wanting to, share knowledge and educate people, like you said, but also take in knowledge, because I think it's unique, kind of tough in the beginning to not everyone's going to love every beer, no matter what, right?
Of course,
so taking in the
happy.
negative feedback and stuff is it's like a little poke sometimes, but you get over it, we wouldn't last in a craft industry if we wanted everyone to like every single thing that you make.
Absolutely.
We're super proud of our product, and we're going to continue to make fun stuff and experiment and put out what we, want to put out and what we think people want to drink.
Right.
And have fun with it. So
I completely, that's absolutely fantastic.
One of the big things that I think that we're really proud of is that there should be something on our board that everybody that likes beer will find. I mean, I don't believe if you like beer and you come in here, there's going to be at least one beer. There's going to be at least one beer that you're going to like.
100%. I agree completely.
And
you guys are versatile for sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And when we did the tasting tonight, and there was multiple beers where we were like, oh man, I do not know if this is going to be good. And then we tried it, and it was unbelievable. For instance, the pumpkin imperial barrel aged.
Yeah, the rum barrel aged.
Yes, the rum barrel aged ale or whatever it was, the pumpkin one. It tasted literally like pumpkin pie, and it was probably one of the best things I've ever tasted in my life.
Oh yeah, I explained that one as like a candied pumpkin rum cocktail.
And it is. It's unbelievable.
So good, but not overly boozy. It's not just rum. So yeah, it's a fun one. It's a fun experience.
It's awesome, and that's kind of what breweries are all about. I feel like is being able to exemplify all these different flavors, all these different styles, and be able to, you could say, show off, kind of, because that's what you guys are doing. You're showing off the styles and knowledge that the brewers have. Yeah. And it's so unbelievable. And kind of, I want to ask, when you guys look at the trend of where Tarpon Springs is at, and that's where we're at right now, where Tarpon Springs is at with breweries and with the beer just kind of feng shui, where do you guys feel like you land, and where do you guys think you're going in that kind of trend upwards? And I feel like that's a very loaded question. It's always hard to gauge where the trend is at with the community. But when you look at Tarpon Springs and your guys' customers, where do you feel like you guys are going, and where do you feel like you guys can end up?
Yeah, I'll share something real quick. Tommy's got more on this probably too. He's very like kind of in the city and kind of in the community.
Sure.
For me, like from a consumer approach, I think kind of before we started getting on camera, we were talking about it. The North Pinellas County in general, much less Tarpon Springs specifically, the breweries are all newer than a lot of like Tampa or St. Pete or some of the older beer cities. So the customers didn't have access to a lot of the crazy craft beer. So you found 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, before all of us were really here, that there just wasn't many chocolate stouts or sours or any of the unique stuff. It was just the few IPAs that are in the market or lagers or macro beers, whatever. So the customer is growing just like all the breweries that are coming into town. So even just since I've been here the last three years or so, we continue to have people that live in Tarpon Springs and have lived here since before we got here discover not only us, but that there's breweries in town at all. Yeah. So the community education perspective is it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely one of like, it's a roadblock for sure that we're working on as a community to try to bring the Sponge Docks and our town together, and that's kind of where Tommy can go and talk about Tarpon specifically, but it's definitely fun for the education side for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and, it's interesting. When we first came in 2019, my brother's knowledge of the Tampa beer scene was he was a beer fan. He was the guy that waited in lines for bottles. He was the guy that went to all the parties during Tampa Bay Beer Week. And when we first opened up, we had all these Tampa Bay Beer Week things planned, and everybody in North Pinellas and Pasco looked at us and said, why do you even care about Tampa Bay Beer Week? We're not in Tampa Bay. I'm like, yeah, we are. This is Tampa. They're like, no, this is Tarpon. No, this is Newport Richey. No, this is Palm Harbor.
Right.
No, this is Dunedin even. It was just amazing to me how it was so far removed from the beer scene. Well, then COVID hit immediately. And as we came out of COVID, I think that's when people started to realize we're all part of the same beer scene. Tarpon was growing. They kind of, Tarpon's like any small community, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
The hurricanes did not help. We lost a lot of the younger population in Tarpon that were starting to really get involved with the craft beer scene.
Sure.
I'm pleasantly surprised at how much the snowbirds love craft beer.
Awesome.
We have a ton of snowbirds down here, and we're starting to see a lot of the younger generation that everybody marketing wise keeps on telling you the younger generation doesn't want beer, doesn't want craft beer.
Right.
We're seeing things kind of fly opposite of that.
Okay,
but,
cool.
But to Ryan's point, the cool part is craft beer is still very new for North Pinellas and South Pasco. So this is still exciting and new for people.
Definitely.
Which is still remarkable to me and all of us. But it is exciting, and and it's exciting to see the people that see us at beer festivals and beer shows that make their way up. We have a number of fans that have seen us at beer festivals in St. Pete and that have made our way up. And we sponsored the Tacos and Tequila festival 2 years ago with Mexican Candy. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We were voted best in show at Ferg's for their beer festival they did 2 years ago.
That's awesome.
With Mexican Candy once again. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun that we're even getting more out. Now we got people taking pictures of our beer when they see it at Lucan's or Total Wine.
Nice.
So that's fun. But I will say the hardship for us is trying to get the people outside of Tarpon, specifically south, to come up to Tarpon. Yeah. We had 5 breweries, so we were starting to get beer tourism. Unfortunately, we're down to 4 now. We do have a distillery. We're about to get a second distillery, so I think that will help.
Yeah.
Because beer tourism is a thing.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
And if you go out and do the research, you'll see a lot of small towns in America are revitalizing their small towns with breweries.
100%.
I think it's amazing. And Tarpon is still with 4 breweries and now upcoming 2 distilleries. We have one great one. We're definitely a destination for people that are into the craft spirits and craft beer and craft cocktails. And we mentioned the chocolatier, who is an award-winning chocolatier. So Tarpon's got a lot to offer when it comes to craft, not just beer, but spirits, chocolate. It's not just a Greek town anymore. It's a lot of
and that's how it should be, right? It's just very versatile, and I think that's exactly what you guys are putting on when you have the list that you guys have up there. It's just completely versatile. There's something for everybody. Even the seltzer that we had tonight was unbelievable. And, we talked a little bit about it off camera, but when people come in and get the seltzer, people think, "Oh my gosh, I just want all these bubbles. I just want, what White Claw is." But like when you have this seltzer, the depth of flavor that you have is miles more than you'll have in a White Claw. You may not have all the bubbles, but you have this depth of flavor. You have not even the depth, but just the flavor in general is better. I mean, it literally tastes like Jolly Ranchers, and it's unbelievable. So I think for you guys to have a community that's starting to recognize the creativity that a craft brewery has is pretty unbelievable. And I guess my last question to you all would be, moving forward, what do you want the community to know about Unrefined Brewing? It's a loaded question.
Outside of the fact that we're here,
right. The Unrefined Brewing is in Tarpon Springs, folks. So if you ever are in Tarpon Springs, come to Unrefined Brewing. But besides being where you're at location-wise, what do you want them to know about this place? What do you want them to really take to heart before they come in and while they're here?
Well, for me, I want people to know when they come here that they are definitely getting our best, most creative effort. We take, as I said, we take a ton of pride in the materials, the ingredients we use to brew beer. There's a lot of research that goes into it. The amount of people that have talked about, my brother's knack. I keep on hearing the word knack from people in the beer community to get the right balance of all flavors in these beers, and it's not just luck. It's hard work. It's research. I couldn't do it. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's just a recipe." No, it's not. There's a difference between Guy Fieri and the person cooking wings at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, that's very true. You ain't wrong there.
Yeah, everyone has the same recipe,
right?
So I think it's that attention to detail and the time and effort spent to make sure that what we're producing we're extremely proud of.
Absolutely.
And that we want everyone to have that great experience, and not just with the beer, but with the tap room, with the staff. We've gone to extensive lengths to make sure the people we have here are excellent people.
Yeah.
They're people that are going to be engaging. They're that have some knowledge.
Yeah.
And that enjoy the industry. And I love the compliments we get.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can actually, there's only 2 times we've ever had a problem with someone behind the bar, and one was when we put my brother behind the bar, the brewer, and it was the only time we've ever been requested to fire somebody.
Wow, interesting how that works.
They thought he was rude, unprofessional, and played vulgar music. He was playing Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay, no, come on now, that's good stuff.
He told people he would not pour them flights.
Perfect.
So,
yeah.
And then the only other time was this guy's amazing Yelp review.
That boy, Ryan. Good job.
It was a great one. We wanted to frame it and put it up. First, the person was upset because he would not give them a sample of all 20 beers before they made a decision to purchase a beer.
Okay, well, I feel like, that's
what they wrote
point from your point of view.
That's what they wrote on the review. They said, well, when I go, I expect to sample every single beer.
That's outrageous,
So we laughed. We laughed after the second third. He did what he was supposed to do, and then it was funny. But I like to bring those up because we like to enjoy that. But at the end of the day, we have a great staff. Everybody, I have been told multiple times he is an amazing ambassador for Unrefined Brewing's brand.
I completely agree.
And I hear that at the Florida Brewers Guild conference. I hear that from other brewery owners. We're very fortunate to have him here. And when people come in, they're going to get a great experience. They're going to be greeted with wonderful, warm people, and they're going to know that the beers they're getting are absolutely done with the best efforts and best ingredients possible. And I'll let him finish if he's got anything.
Yeah.
I was just going. I got to stop.
A little bit on detail of what you were saying with ingredients and recipe. One of the things that, like you said, Guy Fieri versus a cook at Buffalo Wild Wings. Everything similar to a chef would say, like, add salt to taste, add ingredients to taste.
Right.
Everything here is brewed to taste. So we aren't just following a computer-generated recipe and it's an exact number. We're tasting everything along the process and making sure it's going in the direction that we want it to go. And we've been fortunate enough knock on wood, whatever, to not really have to get rid of much beer. And that happens a lot. You'd be amazed. But the effort we go to for cleanliness and things like that to make sure our beers come out the best way they can. And just, again, the effort and care that we put into it, it matters. We care about the beer, the customer, everything. So that's important, and we're not going to go away from that. So
absolutely,
if we're not going to put anything on the board that we're not proud of. So that's like the bottom line for me, and that's why I'm here for sure. It's because it's a company that we care about the product and want to put the best stuff out there. So
absolutely. And so I said this was my last question like 10 minutes ago, but I am a liar, and I have another question. Yeah. You guys have done nothing but talk about your pure ingredients, and we talked a little bit earlier off camera about how you guys don't use anything that's synthetic, anything that's like excuse my language, bullshit.
Sure, yeah.
You guys use whole foods.
Yeah,
for pretty much everything that you brew. And so can you just speak a little bit more to that before we wrap this up?
Yeah. Well, and one of the
you
things
guys use
too,
really pure stuff.
One of the things that's kind of saddened to me recently about the beer industry in general, not anyone specific, but is not only adjunct ingredients, but a lot of like he mentioned the shortcut, and you asked about the shortcut earlier, but there's a lot of breweries that are, and I understand the reason. The market's tough. We see breweries closed every month, and it's very, very sad for our industry. And we see our friends closing, and it sucks. But we'd rather close than make a product we're not proud of. So we're using 100% all grain. We're not using dehydrated malt extract or anything like that to generate our alcohol. We're using fruit puree, whole jalapenos. We're using there's some silly one, like we do the Jolly Rancher. Jolly Rancher there's not a real Jolly Rancher, right?
Sure,
so it's Jolly Rancher, it's candy. So
absolutely.
There's a liquid Jolly Rancher license thing. So like those things when we're playing with the fun, goofy stuff, of course that's not. But if it's strawberry, it's strawberry. If it's mango, it's mango, and it's purees. Nothing preserved or anything crazy like that. I mean, it's a lot of fun. We see better results and flavors that way. Like I said, all of our chocolate now is literally made a quarter mile down the road at a chocolate shop in Tarpon Springs that we have a partnership with.
That's fantastic.
And she gets her cacao from all over the world. So awesome. In the beer you had tonight, the chocolate was from Belize. There's a Belize cacao nib and we'll hand select that with the chocolate master Serrata. So again, care for ingredients is just big, So awesome. Better ingredients, better beer, right? Like Papa John's. Is that?
I was about to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. Well, listen, guys, I appreciate it a lot. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. Tom, Ryan, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. And Unrefined Brewing, folks, in Tarpon Springs, seriously, it's unbelievable. You will find the best beer, and again, with unbelievable quality at that, with unbelievable ingredients. Not Papa John's. It's Unrefined, folks. It's Unrefined. Thank you so much.
It's Unrefined. Cheers.